Thursday, July 12th, 2018, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This morning, aside from looking at the market, I'm going to go through some of the headlines on Zero Hedge, a story I found on Silver Doctors as well, and talk a little bit about a poem that I really fond of. It's my favorite poem. It's called If by Rudyard Kipling. And yeah, there's a few interesting stories this morning. There isn't really much to talk about in the markets. The markets are still pretty much in the doldrums, I would say, especially the major markets, the stock market, the currencies. Things are kind of calmed down right now. The volatility isn't really there, I would say. Having been in the markets for many decades and worked in the markets for over 20 years, it seems like things are pretty calm at the moment. Does that mean things can't change? No, definitely not. But so it's just before 9 o'clock a.m. London, so 8:45. I'm going to see what the markets are doing here. So we've got spot gold up $3, just over $3 at 1245.60. Silver is at 1587, up 7 cents or 0.5%. The range has been 1590 to 1575. So yeah, silver has lost support at 16. The other day I was talking about the 1620 level, that was an important level earlier in the week, and they were able to cap that, and then silver's turned around, of course. Gold is about $20 from the highs this week, which was around 1266. The recent low is 1238, so that's the key support below, I would say. The stock market, we're up today a little bit. The Dow is up 87, up 1/3% at 24,790. I think 25,000 now is like a key level on the upside. There is like also a trend line coming from the high this year and the previous high recently, which is probably a little higher than that 25,000 level, but we're still going nowhere in the stock market, I would say, longer term. And I do still think that the high of the 26th of the end of January, is the high for a while to come still. So S&P is up 6 or 1/4% at 2779. The NASDAQ 100 future is up 11 at 7255. Currencies, the dollar's a little weaker here against the pound and the euro. Pound is up 10 pips, 132.16. Yeah, I think the pound technically doesn't look good against the dollar. So I would, if I was a FX trader, I would be selling on rallies, cable. Euro 116.87, up 0.1%. So just outperforming the pound slightly. Dollar is up almost 1/3% against the yen. It's at 112.33. So yeah, I mean, dollar yen has rebounded well of late. So that's one thing to keep an eye on as well. Crude oil has dropped below 70. The WTI now is 69.74. It's up 2/3%. So I still think the trend is higher in oil, even though we haven't been able now to break above 70, the 73, 75 area. I still think we're going higher. So the headlines. There's some interesting headlines on Zero Hedge. It says here, one of the headlines this morning is, Germans actually want U.S. troops out of Germany. Poll finds. German public poll says, go ahead, make my day. Well, yesterday Trump was at NATO, and I listened to him sitting down at this table across from the NATO leaders, and he was saying, this is not fair. We're paying a lot more. You guys are not. Germany is buying all this gas from Russia. They're like being held captive to Russia. It just seems a bit weird thing to say just prior to when you're going to meet Putin. But I think President Trump he's not like other politicians, I guess. I'm not really sure about what's going on. Yes, I saw the U.S. pays about 3.2% of its GDP for contribution to NATO. Germany is about 1.2%. The rule of NATO is that you should contribute at least 2%. I mean, I agree with the Germans. Maybe that's what Trump wants to do. He wants to say, we don't want to finance this anymore if you guys don't want. So let's just pack our bags and go home. U.S. troops have been in Germany since the end of the war. Do we really need them there? Nazi Germany's collapsed a long time ago. Soviet threat is gone. But at the same time, Trump is... he's increased military spending a lot. Is he? I'm not sure. You see, I'd like to think that he wants to dismantle the military-industrial complex, and this is his way to do it. But we'll have to see. The other headline: for peace with Putin and America's pointless wars. Ignore the establishment. Trump has a huge opportunity at this upcoming summit. I haven't read the story. I've just seen the headline. I mean, you can go and look. But just the headline, I agree with. Back in the early 90s when Bush Sr. and Gorbachev met, the agreement was that with the fall of the Soviet Union, the Russians or the Soviets would withdraw from the Warsaw Pact countries, which was Eastern Europe, was the sphere of influence of the Soviet Union. And NATO was the sphere of influence of the United States. Bush promised that NATO would not expand eastwards. And the Soviets or the Russians, they fulfilled their promise right away. They withdrew completely from Eastern Europe and the Warsaw Pact countries. But ever since then, the Americans have completely encircled the old Russia, old Soviet Union, whatever you want to call it. NATO has expanded eastward. That wasn't a treaty. Maybe that was a mistake the Russians or Gorbachev made. That was just like an oral commitment agreement. I mean, they should have known better. The Americans broke their commitment to Bretton Woods in 1971, which was a written agreement. So you can't really trust not only the Americans, but any other country. Countries will always default or break their agreements. Look at recently now, this agreement with Iran. Trump broke that agreement. I don't think it was signed either. So there you go. That's a lesson for Kim Jong-un. Not that I'm saying he's a good guy, but be careful, Kim. So the other one, the other one I thought was interesting. There's no end in sight. Army Major warns of perpetual war on terror. Yeah, this is another, one of those, the military-industrial complex. For the last 100 years, we've been finding reasons to be at war. That just enriches people and makes the world a much more miserable, unhappy place. I mean, all the trillions and trillions of dollars that have been spent on killing people and destroying cities and cultures could have been used for a lot better things. Some people will argue, oh, we've had great technology because of war. I think that's rubbish, to tell you the truth. And hopefully, this guy is wrong. And another one, Raul Ilargi, Major. NATO is a con game. I completely agree with him. And this goes back to what I was talking about, Germans wanting U.S. troops out. And it says the solution to the problems Trump indicated this morning is not for Germany and all to spend more on NATO. and their military in general, but for the US to spend less, much less, because the Russian threat is a hoax that serves the interests of the military-industrial complex. The politicians and the media completely agree. So those are some interesting articles that I recommend people read. What about If, the poem by Rudyard Kipling? Well, that my dad gave me that poem when I turned 18. That was his present. He could have given me a lot more materially, but I think it was the best present, really, for me when you turn 18. And one of the things I like, one of the parts of the poem, I won't read the whole thing. It's in the first part of it. It says, if you can wait and not be tired of waiting, right? Or being lied about, don't deal in lies. So those are really important. Why? Well, if you can wait and not be tired of waiting, I think it's to do with the fact that our financial monetary system right now is a big lie. I think it's been a big lie since maybe 100 years, with the advent of fiat money, the growth of central banking, and it's gotten worse and worse. The evolution has gotten worse and worse, and I think it's now a complete lie. We're doing, our central banks, our governments are doing what the Germans did back in the early 20s. They're, printing money to finance operations out of thin air, and it's a big lie. All the values we see in fiat money is a big lie, and we just need to be not be tired of waiting for the lie to be exposed, and we shouldn't also deal in lies. So what does that mean? Well, don't get out of the system. Don't deal in lies. I know it's very difficult to be completely out of the system, but those two lines there in this poem make me, that's what keeps me going and believing in what I'm doing. So, and hopefully it will help you as well. Another story, it's on Silver Doctor, and it's a dig at Bix Weir. I listen to some of the stuff Bix Weir, some of his videos. I've read him in the past, his Road to Ruta theories. But recently he's made a video about gold. It says millions of tons of secret gold ready to be released, right? But this guy, what's his name? Steve Santangelo of SRS Rocco Report. He completely debunks this story by Bix Weir, this theory by Bix Weir. The story says, is there really a massive and hidden gold deposit in the Chocolate Mountains in California? Bix Weir, according to Bix Weir, there's millions of, what does he say here? Millions of tons, right? So it's really easy. Steve Santangelo does, some research when the story broke out in the mid-90s. And it says the geologists stated that this gold deposit should have about 40 to 100 billion worth of gold. And using, 1990s price, $400 an ounce, that means 6,200 metric tons, which is not millions of tons, right? So he really kind of exposes or discredits Bix Weir in this sense. I really recommend this article. It just shows that, you need to really do your research. That's all for now. I will be doing the live stream today, Thursday. Yesterday I was a little busy last night, and it's getting darker earlier. So today I'll probably do the live stream at 8 p.m. London, or maybe let's say 8:30 p.m., which will be 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And so I'll talk to you later. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. You can also follow me on Steemit, DTube, and on Twitter. And I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.